OK, we're going to do it.
We're gonna do it, says the officer. It's just after 10 p.m. on a Monday night.
Do it here. It's in line.
You're about to see the moments before Chris Kaba was shot in his car.
Doors, doors, doors!
Doors, doors, doors is a command for officers to get out of their cars. The Audi smashes forward and the car it hits shudders. We hear the Audi wheel spin. Then an officer smashes the rear window. Within seconds, a shot is fired by this man, Martyn Blake.
Doors, doors, doors!
Here's the incident over again, this time from Martyn Blake's point of view. This is his body-worn camera footage. Look to the far left of the screen. You can just make out his rifle. And this is Chris Kaba. Left arm in the air and right hand on the wheel. This is just after officers have jumped out of their cars. Mr. Kaba attempts to drive through the vehicles blocking his path. The single gunshot caused catastrophic brain injury. The bullet was not intact inside Mr. Kaba's skull. He had multiple lacerations from the shattered windscreen.
Shots fired!
This all happened on the 5th of September 2022. Every detail in this 13-second incident has been the subject of a murder trial. After a 2-year ordeal, a police watchdog investigation and a 2-week trial, Martyn Blake walked free from the Old Bailey today. The jury took roughly 4 hours to reach their decision.
This case has had an enormous impact on many. Chris Kaba's family and friends continue to grieve the loss of a loved one, and today will be enormously difficult for them. Today's verdict is significant. No firearms officer sets out on duty intent on ending a life. I worry about the lack of support officers face for doing their best. But most of all, I worry for the public. The more we crush the spirit of good officers, the less they can fight crime. That risks London becoming less safe.
Blake had been accused of the murder of Chris Kaba, an unarmed black man. Mr. Kaba's family has been in court every day. Today, in a statement, they said, "We're devastated. The not guilty verdict leaves us with a deep pain of injustice, adding to the unbearable sorrow we've felt since Chris was killed. The acquittal of Martyn Blake isn't just a failure for our family, but for all those affected by police violence." So what happened in the lead up to the shooting? On the evening of the 4th of September, the night before the shooting, police received a report of gunshots and saw a man with a shotgun. That report said 3 men left the scene in 2 cars. One was an Audi Q8, registration YF19NMM. The following night, the night of Chris Kaba's shooting, the Brixton incident was mentioned in the Firearms Command daily briefing. The Audi was then spotted on Camberwell Church Street in Southwark. A police armed response vehicle started following the car, but they had no idea who was driving. At 9:55, the Met declared a firearms incident. Across the police radio waves, the tactic was revealed: enforced stop extraction.
Do it here. It's in line.
It involves stopping the car and removing the driver. The police also deployed a helicopter, which captured some of the incident. The officers have been labelled with code names. Blake was the navigator of the vehicle at the bottom of the screen, the car that moved forward to block the Audi. Several officers emerged from the vehicles shouting, "Armed police, show me your hands." Kaba first reversed the Audi into the police cars behind, then forward into the police car in front to try and break out. He then reversed the car again. At this point, he was shot by Martyn Blake, who was standing near the passenger side of the Audi.
No justice! No racism!
After the shooting, every weekend for weeks, there were protests.
If we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace.
Chris Kaba's family grieved and campaigned in tandem. They demanded action from the police watchdog and the Crown Prosecution Service.
A lot of you know that yesterday we did go to see the body.
A 6-month criminal investigation ended with the decision to charge Martyn Blake with murder. Last year, we spoke to Chris's parents about what they've been through and also what needs to change between the police and parts of the black community.
There is no trust between us, between the community with the police. To bring the trust up, they need to see NX one-to-one in prison.
That's it.
Then from there we can start bringing trust between police and the community.
We don't have any life, and we have a big trauma. Me, Prosper, and Chris's brother. I can't sleep without of medication. Can you imagine?
The prosecution claimed that the use of force wasn't necessary and that Martyn Blake's reasons for shooting were false and grossly exaggerated. And many others say that his description of Chris Kaba as a black male, comparatively young and athletic, can't be ignored. The jury was shown multiple angles of footage from the incident, and the defence repeatedly stated that Mr. Blake believed his colleagues' lives were at risk because the vehicle was being used as a weapon. Inquest, the charity that investigates state-related deaths, has found that 83 people have died as a result of police shootings in England and Wales since 1990. High-profile cases include Azelle Rodney, Mark Duggan and Jermaine Baker. A police officer has never been found guilty of murder or manslaughter offences in relation to a police shooting. The law makes conviction extremely difficult because police only have to think they were at risk to shoot in self-defence. One police source told us that there are concerns within the Met about the police watchdog investigation and the Crown Prosecution case. A feeling that the decision to charge Martyn Blake was about deflecting public criticism. There have been multiple public inquiries and investigations into police shootings. They've consistently recommended avoiding the use of lethal force by employing other tactics. In 2021, at a public inquiry into the shooting of Jermaine Baker, an officer from the Specialist Firearms Command presented data showing that, at that time, of the 44 people shot by the Met since 2001, 48% were black, and 43% of those suffered fatal injuries. When compared to the 2011 census figures on London's black population, it showed that black citizens are as much as 4 times more likely to be shot by the Met as their white counterparts, and as much as 3 times as likely to die. It said the reasons were unclear and complex.
Chris's death raises particular concerns about the number of black men who die following the use of lethal force. And what we see in those cases is that immediate use to lethal force and no attempts at de-escalation or containment.
Today, the Met Commissioner made it clear that no firearms officer sets out on duty intent on ending a life. He said their sole purpose is the complete opposite, the protection and preservation of life. And this was reflected in the jury's verdict. Many people have been left struggling after that split-second decision to shoot. Martyn Blake says he struggled psychologically. He was suspended after the incident. That suspension will be lifted with immediate effect. And Mr. Kaba's family says despite today's verdict, they won't be silenced and will continue fighting.
Ria Chatterjee, well, our reporter Amelia Jen is outside the Old Bailey in central London. Amelia.
Well, people have begun gathering here for a vigil, chanting, "Say his name" and "No justice, no peace." About an hour ago, the Justice for Chris Kaba campaign group, led by his cousin, spoke outside the Old Bailey, where they said they'd continue fighting for Chris, for justice and for real change. Chris's life mattered, they said, and nothing could take that away from them. Now, they've been waiting for a trial since 2022, so today will, of course, be an incredibly difficult day. Tonight, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, reacted to the verdict. She said that it must be respected and acknowledged the real distress, she said, for the families closely affected. She spoke about policing by consent, saying it relied on the mutual bonds of trust between the public and the police, and that the government would work on policing to strengthen confidence. Words that will be of little comfort to Chris Kaba's family tonight.
Amelia Jen.